Hi, I'm Joe from Glovisor, and I talk to investors every single day. And we talk about all the different projects and all the exciting companies that are starting to be brought to the market and real estate investments, you name it. We talk just about everything. But in the last few weeks, the name that keeps coming up the most is Chi-Chi's. I don't know if you remember Chi-Chi's, which was a brand, it's a Mexican brand. And I think I remember maybe also like sauce at the grocery store. I'm not 100% sure. But anyways, Chi-Chi's went to the market. They have an offering and they went through startengine.com to sell their offering. And their initial goal, I guess it was about $3.5 million. Here it states that they raised about 3.25, but it's already up in a wait list. So maybe they have a lot more money that came in that has surpassed it, and I guess they're probably just they just don't need as much money because everybody's so interested. So I had to make a decision: do I want to get involved in this? Do I want to invest in Chi-Chi's? Especially since I sort of know a little bit about the history, and everyone's so excited about it. But nonetheless, let me just take you through some of the things that I read and to make my final decision if to invest or not. Chi-Chi's was a beloved household name from 75 to the year 2004. They have over 200 restaurant locations. And so that's pretty substantial. They had a big following, which I'm not 100% sure what happened, what brought them down. Then they mentioned how the U.S. Mexican restaurant market is valued at $95 billion dollars a year and it's growing 5% annually. So that's pretty substantial market. I mean, thinking you're like maybe like selling on online on YouTube or social media, those referral programs are like $200 billion business, and that's pretty huge. And just to think that one restaurant type can actually bring in nearly 100 billion on a yearly basis in U.S., pretty substantial. That means that there's a lot of money to be made still. Then, if you look at the share price that they did in their offering was 1.54, so $1.54 per share, and the minimum investment was $250, 249.48, and the valuation that they actually came out to market was $10 million. And you have three people that are really involved here. It's Michael McDermott, Marno McDermott, and Jack Buttarak. But Michael and Marno, I guess they're related, and the original people who actually brought Chi-Chi's to market. And I think Marno might have been the one of the co-founders who actually brought it back to the market back in 1974. So this is not an original concept for these people because they've worked in it. So that was also something to consider. It's a comeback story. People love comeback stories, so that might become very valuable to people. Also, some people are remembering this when they were younger, so maybe they're nostalgic and they're thinking, "Hey, I remember when I was little and I used to go to Chi-Chi's with my family," and that might be very interesting. It may help the brand grow again. They talk about their family legacy, the personal mission, and it says how Michael McDermott says bringing back Chi-Chi's is not a business; it's personal because he grew up in Chi-Chi's and watched father and uncle build something love, not just a restaurant. So it's something personal story to this, and I think that might be interesting again. And here's Michael. Um, And if you look, yeah, the social media buzz is huge. Like everyone's talking about this in the investment side. And it's been on all the channels, been tons of articles. Even people who are not in investment have asked me about Chi-Chi's. So the original fundraising goal was $3.5 million, and that's to start to convert two existing restaurants in Minnesota into Chi-Chi's, and those would be the flagships. And then with those 3.5 million, they wanted to create a team and then a campaign and then franchise again so they can get back out there and start franchising. Maybe they can get back to the 200 restaurants they used to have back in 2000. Now, if you look at this section here, is it they actually had their competitors, which is Chewy's, On the Border, Uncle Julia's, which I don't really know two of these. So it depends where you are in the country that you may be familiar with one of these brands or two of these brands. But their strength in comparison to their competitors is iconic brand, scratch made menus. That's pretty cool, and huge fan base. And I think that's from the older timing people back from 75 to 2004. Their weaknesses is first mover advantage in revival. So they're kind of placing themselves as being first, um, and sort of it back into a revival. And again, that might be good from a comeback story. That might be interesting for some individuals, and I think more emotional. As far as numbers, we don't really know because they haven't done anything yet. The money is being raised is to actually convert existing restaurants into the flagships. Open kitchens where guests can see their meals being prepared. That's pretty cool. I like that. Freshly made tortillas served daily in a vibrant bar area with 100 different tequila options. I'm sure people are going to love that. This is the model. You can see what the building's like, which is not very big. So I guess their goal here is to have a lot of outdoor seating, which is nice because it's easier property to manage. And so they've been out of the business for over 20 years, but they do know what they're doing, I guess, because they do have the history of building the original business the first time around. So I think this time that they can do it. So the minimum investment, if anyone can go through startengine.com, which probably can't because right now it says join the wait list. It's so I guess they probably way surpassed the money that they wanted. It would have been $249.48. So it's $250, we can get you as an investor. The max investment anyone could have invested was $1.5 million. But as you can see there on the right, it says the investors' number is 2,816. That's based on that $10 million valuation. So we'll see where this ends up. It's fairly interesting to see that a brand can just come back out of nowhere and just become so interesting that everyone wants to talk about it. Ultimately, I think because of the emotion, the comeback, and the whole story that goes along with it, I found it somewhat interested. So I said, why not? Let me go ahead and invest and buy some shares. Let's hold on to it. Maybe this is going to be a good investment long term. Maybe it can grow that quickly. So I bit the bullet and I went with it. But then again, we invest in a lot of different companies. I don't recommend this for absolutely everyone. If you're thinking that you need your money to come back, some of these investments, some of these offerings don't ever really materialize into anything really, really good. And you may lose your investment. So I don't recommend that for absolutely everyone. But if you had extra money and you're thinking that you want to get into an investment, sometimes these cool offerings is pretty nice because there's a little buy-in and you get to see the whole beginning and you follow the process. Sometimes you may join like a special club with some offerings. Sometimes you get some discounts in the business. Chi-Chi's didn't offer any discounts, which I thought it was interesting. I would have thought that maybe for the initial they did have something with their offering where they're selling their offering that if you purchase a higher amount, you would get 10% more stocks on it. But then you would have to join sort of like a yearly subscription, and I didn't want to do that. But for some people, I would imagine that if it surpasses their purchase, like maybe the person who wanted to invest the $1.5 million, they probably would have benefited a lot by purchasing the 10 percenters because then they would have had 10%, maybe another 100,000 shares probably. So that would have really worked out for them. So I hope that you found this interesting and that maybe if you're a Chi-Chi's investor, please let me know. Contact me. Let me know what you're seeing. If you hear of anything that's interesting or any meetings or investor meetings that are happening, I think we're all going to get contacted. But if you want to get together and just chat about where the business is going, and especially when they're going to start doing their franchising, because maybe that's something that we can talk to some of our investors who may want to do local franchising in their local markets. All right, see you in the next video.